So the A7R5 is finally here, and if you're wondering whether you should be upgrading to it, we'll find out in this video. So welcome back to another video. Exciting news, exciting new announcement from Sony releasing the Sony A7R5. It's been a long time coming for A7R4 users for this camera to finally come out. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for future videos. We'll love to see you back here again. And if you're already subscribed, thank you again for coming back. So the Sony A7R5 has a lot of features, and in this video, I just wanted to talk about features that I really like, some that are not as exciting in my opinion, and at the end, I'll be talking about whether I would be upgrading to this camera as a hybrid shooter, particularly coming from the Sony A7IV. So my favorite thing on this new camera is that Sony finally introduced a multi-angle LCD screen. This LCD screen has already been around with a few cameras like the Panasonic SH1, but it's coming for the first time to Sony cameras. Not only is it an articulating screen so you can see yourself, but for photographers and others who don't like that articulating screen, you can still flip up the screen or flip down the screen. Another thing that I like is that now you have the ability to shoot in 8K in 10-bit color, albeit in 420, not 422. I still think we're not fully there yet in terms of filming in 8K and delivering in 8K, but at least you have a camera on the Sony A7R5 that is a little bit of a future-proof camera. It has also 8 stops of in-body image stabilization, which is not going to turn your camera into a handheld gimbal, but at least if you're shooting with a longer focal length, that's going to help you cut a lot of that shake. Or when you want to get a quick long exposure shot and you don't have a tripod with you, that 8 stop of in-body image stabilization is going to really help. It has also a new processor, the Bionic XR, which makes the responsiveness on this camera and on the menus a lot faster. You also have a lot of really good video features as Cinetone, S-Log, and Sony claims that you can get about 15 plus stops of dynamic range with this camera. By far, my favorite feature on this camera is the new artificial intelligence that has been added to this camera. Autofocus has been vastly improved. So Sony has been great with eye autofocus, but now this new AI is going to predict people's poses, and if somebody's turning their face or their head around, it's going to still focus on that person. Another thing as well is that if you get someone's back, someone's turning for a bit, the camera is going to still try to keep focus on the head of the person instead of the backpack or the back of that person, which is really good in my opinion. The AI for autofocus has been greatly improved on this camera, which is super exciting. You also got all the new features that were also on the Sony A7IV, like focus map and focus breathing compensation and a few others. As a hybrid shooter, some of the things that I'm a little bit indifferent about are the fact that you don't have 4K 120, that there are different types of crops depending on which type of video format you're shooting at. And at times I think that this could get a little bit confusing if you want to determine what focal length you want to use. So that it's a little bit confusing to me, but I know that there are things that have to be kept into consideration for this camera and some things that have to be excluded from this camera because we also have cameras like the A1, which is Sony's flagship. Other things that I'm a little bit indifferent about is the outer exposure feature. Although that it's a really cool feature, really cool AI on the camera. As someone who uses cameras professionally, I like to dial in my exposure manually, so it's something that I wouldn't be using as much. Another thing too is that you can only shoot 10 frames per second in high-speed bursts in photo mode. So for some people that may be a step back depending on what you're shooting. So this is not an exhaustive list of all the features on this new camera, but the question is, as a hybrid shooter myself who shoots pretty much 50% photo and video, am I going to upgrade to the Sony A7R5? Well, traditionally the R series of the Sony cameras have been geared more towards photographers, and they've been lacking in the video department. With the Sony A7R5, they have included a lot of really good video features, which makes it another hybrid camera in my opinion. Now for my shooting scenarios and my purposes, I don't really need 61 megapixels on the Sony A7IV that I'm currently shooting with. I have all the video features that I need at the moment. I would have liked to have 4K 120, but the A7R5 doesn't have that, so it doesn't change many things for me. And in terms of color and low light performance, it seems like both cameras are on the same level. In terms of quality, you might be getting a slight increase in video quality because you have a 61 megapixel sensor, but I'm still very happy with the quality that I get on the Sony A7IV. This camera is about $1,400 US more expensive than the Sony A7IV. So for those reasons, I don't think I would be upgrading to the Sony A7R5. but that screen is really enticing. Perhaps if you're a photographer who wants to get the upgraded features on this new camera, the new processor, and all these new video features, then it might be worth an upgrade if you're coming from the A7R4. But if you want it the best of the best, the flagship, and you have the budget, probably go for the Sony A1. And if you wanted something that is a little cheaper, but that it's really good at both photo and video, then the A7IV is the one to go for. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.